Season 1, Bonus 2. A Soldier's New Battle. Camping out cancer. The doctor's office was too quiet. The hum of the air conditioning, the low murmur of voices in the hallway, even the ticking of the wall clock, it all seemed to be swallowed by the silent space between the doctor's words and Alan's brain. Alan, a man who'd spent his life in loud, chaotic places as a retired Army and police officer, now faced a silence more menacing than any firefight. Dr. Evans cleared his throat. Alan, the results of your biopsy are in. You have cancer. The words landed not like a punch, but like a whisper that echoed in the empty room. Alan simply shook his head. Cancer? He said, a hint of a chuckle in his voice. No, Doc, I'm a Virgo. You got the wrong guy. Dr. Evans didn't smile. The lack of a smile made Alan's joke feel small and hollow. His wife, Cristel, reached over and squeezed his hand, a grip that was so tight, a lifeline that he hadn't known he needed. He looked at her and then back at the doctor. The reality of the situation, the undeniable truth, was beginning to seep in. The cancer inside of him was there. He felt it now. It wasn't a pain, not yet. It was a small spark, barely a flicker, in a vast darkness of his denial. But he knew with a primal certainty that this spark would one day turn into a flame, and that flame would become a roaring, raging fire. But Alan was a man who knew how to handle an enemy. You studied his weaknesses, you fortified your position, and you hit it with everything that you had. He had a lifetime of experience in the arena, and this, he realized, was his next fight. The cancer wasn't going to define him. He was going to define it. The spark became a flame. The flame became a purpose. The purpose was to turn this stumbling block into a stepping stone, not just for himself, but for every man who would one day hear those same words. He lived a life of service, and this, he realized, was his next assignment. With Cristel as his unwavering partner, he founded Pro-State Attitude, PSA, Body, Mind, and Spirit. It wasn't a foundation built on pity. It was built on purpose. His experiences on the battlefield and the beat taught him that fear was a tool of an enemy, and knowledge was the greatest weapon. His nonprofit would be an arsenal of that knowledge. He started writing his words, a direction, a reflection of his new mission. His book wasn't a sob story about a cancer patient. It was a battle plan from a man who had faced the fire and refused to be consumed by it. He spoke at community centers. He spoke at churches. His voice, a commanding presence in rooms that had once filled with silent fear. He talked about early detection, about the importance of routine checkups, and about shedding the stubborn male ego that often stood in the way of a doctor's visit. Alan was no longer just a patient. He was a man in the arena, fighting for his life and the lives of those around him. The cancer was still inside him, a roaring, raging fire, but it was now his fire. He stoked it. He stoked it with purpose that turned its heat into a light, a beacon for others to follow. And that's why we're here tonight. We're camping out cancer. We're telling our stories, not as victims, but as survivors. We're sharing our victories and our struggles under the light of this fire. Because when you have a pro-state attitude, the man in the arena is always you.